Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts we play in our professional lives and learn about the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Nicole Trick Steinbach joining us. Nicole is the International Bravery Coach and helps women in tech build your brave career. As you might expect, today, we're going to be focusing on the value of coaching in the workplace with a particular focus on women in tech. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you so much for inviting me on here because I've listened to a number of episodes and you have such a fantastic collection of experts doing just beautiful things in the world.
Well, you are doing beautiful things in this world to help employability and help folks with belonging and moving forward. This is all part of a longer coaching series that we're running right now. But Nicole, before we get started, all of my guests get this question. Please tell our listeners your story.
Yes. So I am the product of a single mom. And she was 20 when she had me. And that's really important because it started with a lot of love and a lot of lack, financial lack, opportunity lack, access lack. And education made a huge difference in my life. And I'm going to be talking probably a lot about small interventions that made a huge difference. And one of them is I was in this middle school that was very low quality. And a woman came in, and I can't tell you anything except for she said, I went to this school and now I have a global career. And I was like, hot dog, I can too. So I went to college. I went to Pittsburgh for college. It was a great experience. And I entered right after September 11th, 2001, the workplace. There weren't a lot of jobs. And my boyfriend at the time said, well, I have a postdoc in Germany. How about joining me? And since my family is primarily German descent, in fact, my grandmother spoke German to me when I was young, but I have a stutter. And so doctors told my family to stop talking to me in another language. It was causing my stutter, which is absolutely not true, but the 80s were a strange time. So I went to Germany for 8 months. 13 years later, I was married to a different man. I had 2 children, a mortgage, and an amazing career in technology. And that amazing career in technology took me from being a secretary when I was in college. I was a secretary for the computer science department because they paid a whopping $2 more an hour. That was a lot of money for me. And all the way up to being a global senior director when I came back to the States about 7 years ago at this point. And there were really important moments where I spent a lot of my life moving from things. Like, I don't want to live here. I don't want to struggle financially. I don't want to take care of little kids before I'm ready, right? Into having the privilege and the access to move towards things. Because I had enough income, I could pay off all my student loans, I could buy property, I could invest. I traveled to 25 different countries just for work. So I've been to over 40 countries. And for someone who comes from an area of the world that doesn't tend to have passports at all, let alone travel a lot, it was really amazing to get that experience. And it took saying yes before I was ready, saying no when I was scared. And over time, I realized that bravery is a skill and that I had the ability to build it. And so that's what I actually help people with now, because it's what I have done. Be a woman in tech. As a non-technical person, I can code. You don't want me to code, but I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I can code as well, and we could have a side conversation about the cards that I had to take into the computer science department that I had ordered all night, and tripping and falling, and the cards going all over the place.
Oh,
but
no.
We won't take the audience down that rabbit hole, but. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, Nicole. So if you out of that, in that storyline, that arc that you just gave us, if there was one event in that arc that just put rocket boosters, was a key accelerant for you, what would that be?
Yeah. So I want to choose one that was outside of myself. And it really did fundamentally change what I was aware of and what became available for me. And this is not a pitch for coaching for everyone, but for me, it made a massive difference because I was horrid to work with. You know, that word that starts with an A and ends with whole, that is how I behaved. Why? Okay, I grew up in a place where I didn't know people who worked in corporations, certainly not global corporations. And so when I started, I really looked at my bosses. I looked at the quote unquote successful humans. They were all men. And I copied them because I didn't know any differently. I saw they were successful. If I copied them, they made me successful. I was working underneath this gentleman who was American, working globally, and he was very demanding and very difficult to work with, and I copied him. Well, when I got promoted, I got huge pay increases. It was working well, and I was like, oh, okay, this is how it is. No. When he moved on, I stayed in the role. And I had new management, which happens all the time, right? We have at the moment management lines. We don't have permanent managers anymore. And this was like almost 20 years ago at this point. Right. And my new management was like, listen, you are so good at what you do, but you are horrid to work with. You have to get it together. And I am so grateful. So for everyone out there that's in management, and I took this into my management career, tell people the truth. Please tell them the truth. Not telling them that they're hard to work with or they're unreliable or their communication is not strong enough or whatever it is, only holds them back, and it holds you back as well. So I was truly lucky enough, like, yes, I was good at my job, but I was truly lucky enough to work at a company and work under management that saw my potential and told me, you get to turn this around, but we're going to invest in you so that you can turn it around. Right? And so I had a series of options. There was a course, there was mentorship, and then there was coaching. I took all of it. I was like, yes, I want all of it. And coaching fundamentally changed what I felt about myself, how I approached my career. It was like a mixture. That first coaching experience was a mixture of mindset coaching, how I thought about my job, how I thought about collaboration, but the tactics, how to ask really good questions, how to track into governance without being a micromanager, how to balance religious holidays all over the world because it was a global role, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that changed everything. I didn't understand what mentors were. I didn't understand what sponsorship was. And so having someone who was one-on-one with me just completely, as you said, was a massive accelerant. It took about 3 months and the feedback came pouring into my manager. Not only is she good at her job, but she's a pleasure to work with. And more importantly, I slept better. I felt better about myself. I felt better. And then I treated people better.
Yep. Well, Nicole, that's a wonderful, what in my books I call the genius jerk.
Yes.
You are really good at your job, but you drive everybody bananas, and culturally you just don't fit, and driving more disengagement than engagement in the workplace. And it's really refreshing for me to sit here and listen to a story about someone who did say yes, didn't push coaching away, embraced it, brought it closer to them. And if more folks can hear what you just said, that 3 minutes, we will all be better off, because there will be I'm sure fewer genius jerks in the workplace. They'll be better. Their teams, their colleagues will be better. The workforce will be a better place for it. So
yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. So let's get into the bravery thing. On your website, main headline, build your brave career. Help us understand the tagline at a deeper level and what engaging with you looks like for your average client.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So first of all, Bravery is not a personality trait. That's the first thing for us to go deeper. It's a skill. You can build the skill.
Yep.
Right? Secondly, you are already brave. You're already brave. You who is listening to this. For example, if you're in the United States, do you drive a car? Do you get into a car? How many car accidents have you seen? And yet, still get into a car.
You still do that.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're elsewhere, think about global transportation, public transportation, right? I even had a family member who, getting up from a nap, their foot was asleep and they broke their foot, and they still take naps, they still get up. So the point is that it's a skill, right? The second aspect of it is that you can build it, right? The third part is that you get to define what brave is. In most societies in the world, we have a misconception that bravery is only those, what we would code as masculine behaviors: going to war, running into a burning building, slamming your fist on the desk. Actually, bravery is a lot more. So for me, it was, for example, getting negative feedback and making the scary choice to step into coaching, into a mentorship, into that course. For me, it was also choosing to become a parent. For me, it was telling someone, listen, you're buying a company. I'm going on holiday. Now you need a weekend of work, but you knew you were buying this company a year ago. But you're only telling me now and expecting me to cancel my vacation? No, I will not be doing that. Thank you very much. Right? Yeah. For some of my clients, it's things like having the crucial conversations, saying this isn't working for me or this is working for me. It can be working less. Most of my clients are working 60 or 70 hours a week when they come to me. And it's about stressing less, trusting themselves more, and working less. That can feel very scary, right? And especially in an industry where you're the outlier, regardless of any other intersectional identities that you may have.
Right.
So that's how we go deeper. There are 3 phases of building your career, and they overlap. So the first one is clarity. What do you not want? What do you want? Who are you going to tell? Hopefully these are mentors, sponsors, friends, people who are going to support you, and yes, your boss. Number 2, momentum. This is acting and feeling your way to success, because you can only be brave if you feel concerned or nervous, anxiety, insecure before you take the action. So you got to feel your feelings, can't ignore them because you will burn yourself out. And you got to take aligned action that actually moves you towards what you want. And then the third part is accountability. Now, this is the biggest area, I'll be honest, for most of my clients. And I think for most people in the world who are women or were socialized as women. We have been taught to be accountable for other people. Please open a dictionary. That's not what accountability is.
Right.
Right? It's of, for, with, self. If you'd like to govern people, you'd like to parent your children, great, but you're not accountable. You're accountable to yourself. And so it's choosing who you want to become and becoming that person. So for example, I wanted to become a global executive, right? But who did I want to be in that? I wanted to be kind. I wanted to listen. I wanted to collaborate. I wanted my employees to experience overall positive experience with me. And so then I'm going to take action to help me build my leadership skills, drive important conversations, give tough feedback, reward people, celebrate our wins, create a culture in our team. So when people come to work with me, when women come to work with me, there's 3 ways to work with me. The one that I want to talk about here, just because it's more indicative of the overall arch of what we do, is we spend 6 months together and we really go deep into, first, who do you believe you are right now? And who do you want to become? What is your goal? And most of my clients need to start with, I don't know. I just know I don't want this. Okay, great. What is it about this phase of your life that you would be sad to lose, right? So we're already into momentum, feeling the feels. What would you be excited to lose? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I never want to work with that customer again, as an example, right? Or I don't want to deal with this type of technology anymore. I want to go into AI, right? And then begin to take those action steps, 2% changes at a time Most of my clients want to do like 180,
Right.
change everything. And it's
Right
like,
now,
oh,
let's change everything right now.
Right now, right? And we start with lowering the stress level first so that my clients can begin to work less, right? Do their own jobs instead of doing other people's jobs.
Yep.
And then they begin to earn more, but that's the longer game. So that's what Build Your Brave is and how I work with people in a nutshell.
Very cool. So over the last few weeks, our guests, we've been talking a lot about imposter syndrome. We've been talking a lot about the itty bitty shitty committee that lives in our heads. My wife Linda taught me that one. I loved your comment before the show of yes, I am a huge fanboy of my wife Linda and her horse career. Completely transparent. I'm out there, right? But these voices in our heads that you have some success, and then you don't deserve that. You're not worthy. All this negative self-talk. I suffer from it. What's the intersection between your Bravery platform and minimizing all of that swirl?
Oh my goodness, such a good, and I loved it. I was like, hype man, that's amazing. Okay, so the first thing is that I have a slightly different take, and I'm seeing more of this publicly. I actually was exposed to this the first time from a colleague of mine from Nigeria, and she said, if I feel like an imposter, I know I am successful. Because here I am, an African Black woman in the industry of tech, in a space that was certainly not designed for me. Most of the time, they were designed to keep me out. And I'm here. Yay. If I feel like an imposter, it's because I'm successful. It's a signal of success.
Awesome.
That is just revolutionary for most of the amazing people I talk to. And in that case, I mean men, women, transgender people, non-binary people all over the world. Wow, you feel like an imposter? Congrats. You're successful. Now, when it comes to the itty bitty shitty committee, right? What if these voices were your friends? What if I have a tendency towards depression, not anxiety, but depression? What if that little voice that's like, oh, get into bed, don't get out, is actually saying, hey, listen, you've accomplished a lot. And now it's time to rest. Or, hey, you've been so heads down in one area of your life or your work. How about we look at something else? If you've been parenting extensively because you've been on holiday, right? Maybe it's time to spend time with friends or work on a really cool project for your job, and vice versa, right? And so, do we need to always listen to them? No. Sometimes it's enough, to quote my therapist, to say, hey, welcome to the tea party. I'm so glad you could come. Your seat's at the other end of the table.
Right.
Glad you're here, right? Yep. And other time it's like, hey, what do you have to say to me? And it is very, very brave as part of momentum to turn to a feeling and say, okay, where am I feeling this in my body? What do I think its name is? And then I'm going to ask it, what are you actually trying to tell me? And it's also very brave to say, thank you so much. So anyways, I'll have time for you after this major presentation. After this code go live, I'm going to come hang out with you for a while. But until then, over there, have some crumpets down the hall.
Very cool. Very cool, Nicole. We have to take a really short commercial break, but we're going to continue this wonderful conversation with Nicole Trick Steinbach in just a moment. Has trust broken down in your organization? Learn how smooth workflows enable accountability and unlock trust to create long-term business success. Learn more in my new book, The Balanced Business, available today at Amazon.com and wherever books are sold. And And we're back with Nicole Trick Steinbach talking about women in tech and the value of coaching in a business setting. Nicole, let's shift gears just a little bit and focus on women and careers in technology. I like to run simple thought experiments. So let's start in primary and secondary school. Suppose you have a public school superintendent sitting in front of you right now. What advice do you have for this individual to create more pathways for girls and young women into careers in tech? So, before the show, we were talking about this feeling of loneliness that a lot of women feel in tech, so that there's less loneliness and there's more, there's just a broader diversity in tech.
Oh my goodness. Well, here comes my secret spy experience. Ready?
Nice.
Dear listener, regardless of your industry, welcome. You are a woman in tech. Think about what our teachers do now. I have 2 kids. I have one in elementary and I have one in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? They all have Chromebooks.
Yeah.
In Germany, in France, in Korea. I mean, my goodness, right? If you are in education, and especially if you're an executive in education, please begin your process of saying, yes, I am a superintendent. I am a person of education, and I am a woman in tech. I am a man in tech, because your entire industry runs on the spine of tech. We can argue about whether or not we like that, but the truth is everything you do runs on tech.
Right.
All of the standardized testing, all of the curriculum development, all of the communication with parents, it's tech. So one of the major things that you can do as you're approaching curricula is decide, this is part of I am part of this industry is a part of mine. What do I actually think is going to help? Because when and I've seen it with my own eyes, when you walk into a conversation with all of your teachers and if you are sitting on top of like a number of principals and you say, so we're all in technology. We're education professionals first. And secondly, we need to understand technology to do our jobs, which includes the data. The shift of confidence changes dramatically. So that's the first thing, is self-identification. And the second thing, I'm going to stay in mindset, but then I'm going to get really concrete. The second thing is, and I'm going to be a little flippant here. Ready?
Yep.
When people tell me, I don't like technology, I'm not a technologist, I don't really right? I don't understand it, it's too hard. My joking around, but also serious, is like, congratulations, that's awesome. Because most of it is created by mediocre white dudes, and you aren't one of them. You're an awesome white dude.
Yeah.
Or you're a fabulous brown person, right?
Yeah.
And so when people stop pretending that that's norm, like that's the stick of what you're trying to compare yourself to, it's like, oh, actually, this tech is confusing. Oh, it doesn't make sense that the button's over there. Oh, it's not running the way that would make sense for me. Okay, I'm not the problem. Tech is.
Right.
And that really shifts things. And then the third thing is, please stop reinventing the wheel. There are so many amazing people in your district. There are so many amazing resources that are available specifically to encourage girls and young women to embrace math. My youngest is perpetually encouraged to love her math. She loves math. It is a spiral, right? And so reach out to those organizations. For example, there's girls who code. There's Black girls who code. There's coding for women. There are so many activities and curricula that want to support you. Please stop reinventing the wheel. You don't have to think about it that much. You have so many other topics on your plate.
Yeah.
And welcome women in specifically. Like, I've seen this too many times where there's a career day and they're trying to find an engineer, a scientist, a technologist, a mathematician, a professor, whatever. And they're reaching out to men. Please reach out to women, because we are actually all over these environments as well. And it helps your boys as well when they're listening to women talk about being women in tech.
Yes. Touchdown. Awesome. That is just fantastic.
Thanks.
My heart is a bit warmer today that your daughter is embracing mathematics, and most importantly, that she has a teacher, coach, mentor in her life who is helping her see the positive aspects of mathematics. Drives me absolutely crazy when folks, I'm not a math person. I don't like math. Math doesn't resonate with me. Okay, that's cool, but math is all around you, and as educators, if we can make mathematics more approachable, more experiential, I've already told this story on the show, but I'm going to tell it again. I teach at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. The introductory stats course is right before mine, and I'm sitting in the hallway looking in, and they're talking about the standard deviation. And the examples that they're giving for the standard deviation were ants on the distribution of ants on a sandwich at a picnic.
That sounds fun.
But I'm like, oh, how? If I'm the student in the classroom, I'm like, A, I haven't been at a picnic since I was 5 years old. B, if I've got ants anywhere near me, I'm out of here anyway. And let alone, am I going to get to the point where I'm going to be analyzing the distribution of ants on a sandwich? Oh, hell no. So you've lost the crowd, right out of the gate. Anyway.
Yes.
So yes. And, so Nicole, we're having so much fun today.
Yes.
Let's go the corporate decision maker route. Now we're in a corporate setting. So we were just in the primary and secondary school talking to a superintendent. Now we're going to talk to a CEO of pick your mid-sized corporation. They're sitting right in front of you right now. What advice do you have for them to open more doors to a diverse population in their technology department?
So there are two that I consistently say. And I always start off with, and this is actually something I do quite a lot when I'm consulting, because I do organizational change management consulting as well, when the problem statement is super cool. But it has to be super cool.
Right.
I'm not doing boring stuff. Super cool stuff, which is a lot of tech, right?
Yep.
So the first thing that I say is, let's not talk about tactics because you already know them. You also pay a lot of people to do the tactics for you. So I'm sure that you listen to them because you invest in them and in that function. So here are two things that I want to say to you. The first one is stop looking for culture fit. You're just going to end up with a bunch of you, which is what I did the first time that I built a team. I ended up with a bunch of people who had gone to B-level universities, had grown up hard Scrabble, and were extreme extroverts and loved talking. We had a lot of fun. We did not get stuff done. Get out, right? You got to look for a brave culture. What is going to stretch your culture? Where's going to grow your culture? That's who you're looking for. And the second thing is get out of the way. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
The majority of the time when it comes to bringing in people who are outside of the current micro identity, let's be very clear. Globally, a straight white man is a micro identity that has a significant amount of power. Okay, that's where we are. All good, right? Lots of people are amazing regardless of their identity. There's this concept that, yes, you need to take action to lift people up. But you know the tactics. You know to demand a short list that makes sense. You know to go to different conferences. You know all of these things. Mentor women, mentor people who are unlike you, etc. Often, just get out of the way.
Yeah.
Get out of the way. Then you have less work. And now we're back to brave culture. How can you be a brave leader who gets out of the way?
That is, speaking from experience as a chief executive of a mid-sized company, that is so hard to do, but so necessary in that skill of knowing when you need to be there as the CEO, when you do need to weigh in, and when to not be in the room, when to allow the wonderful, beautiful people that you have around you take the ball and run with it. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it is, and also for the person that you're getting out of the way for, it can be quite scary. So that was the experience I had. I worked at a multinational, it's a German tech company. And the gentleman who was the CEO at the time, I was running a program for him. And it was a really important decision. And something else came up. It was customer related. That is obviously the priority for the CEO. CEO should not be making all of the decisions, right?
Right.
But this was an area where the CEO was absolutely needed to be involved. And so he stood up and he said, Nicole's got it from here. Send me the update. Now, my entire body, talk about brave, right? My entire body was cold. And I was like, my body was like, absolutely not. Jump on him, hold him in this room. Do not let him go, right?
Right.
But the moment of confidence, because confidence is created, right, by action. It is an outcome, not a source. And so after he did that, like, of course, I was full of like, oh my God, what is happening? And we did the meeting, we made the decisions. And afterwards, I was like, wow, I actually know I'm good at my job. He got up and left in a core decision meeting to take care of something even more important. And I took that as a sign of like, wow, I'm really good at my job.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Nicole, we got to wrap up today. We could talk for literally for hours, but we got to keep it about to 30 minutes. So one lightning round question for you. I love my time machine question. You have access to a time machine. You can send a very short message to an earlier version of yourself. What's the message, and what previous version of yourself do you send it to?
Oh, everything before every element of myself before I turned 35. You are loved. I did not feel loved.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. You are loved. Not I love you. You are loved. Like, I'm tearing up just as I say it. I'm 43. I've been working on this since I was 35. You are loved.
Yes.
I made a lot of decisions from the fear of not being loved. Not being good enough, but I was always loved.
Yeah. That's a wonderful message, Nicole. We have to wrap up. What's next for you, and where can folks learn more about you and your programs? Absolutely. So what's next for me is trusting myself even more, because I'm loved, so I can trust myself even more. Woohoo! So I have a podcast, Build Your Brave Career. It is such an act of service and love. So come on over and experience it. And I also just love to hear from people when you've listened to this and you want to add to the conversation, or you want to be like, hey, actually, I disagree with you. Like, all of it is welcome at Nicole@tricksteinbach.com. So that is where I'd love to hear from people and just enter into conversation human to human. Excellent. Nicole, thank you for being on the show today. This was tremendous value for our listeners. I'm so happy we were brought together in this moment. Thank you so much. All right. Well, this is the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. We're on all the major streaming services. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends, neighbors, and colleagues. The show was produced by Nick Temte, and we will see you next time on the Balancing Act.